Now, what is a breach of promise to marry? First of all, we should understand that marriage is a contract. Marriage is a contract. It is an agreement between two people. The moment I say that I want to marry you and you agree, there is a contract that has been formed. So when does the marriage contract begins? It begins with the exchange of promises between a man and a woman. Where marriage begins, the contract, okay? A contract is an agreement between two people to undertake an event. So me know your agreement say baby, that becomes a contract. Yeah, agreement say be business together, it becomes a contract. Yeah, agreement say ben nante akobabi together, it becomes a contract. Why? There is an agreement. Where it becomes just one side, there's a one person penna. Agreement. Now that is not a contract, because a contract must be voluntary. Anything that one party is forced to enter, that is not a proper contract, so called. So where the marriage contract begins, it starts with an exchange of promise. So when I call you to marry you, now me show bar and a contract and start here. Now the contract could be express or implied. Express or implied. It is expressed when a proposal is made and accepted. That becomes an express proposal. Hello, good. So when I give you, when I make a proposal that I want to marry you, and you agree, that is express. And on my card to what you agreement is an express agreement. Me come out here and I what you say. Now it becomes implied, where the agreement is inferred from the behavior of the people. Now the two of you, you are say in courtship or dating, but una usini niema, una unwediane, una boni jemmano. Ningina their behaviors are a chance asimesi ana obentin. MSO ne ya mosi ehhehhe ho omunya ware. Into the behavior of one party to the other. Una utua the school fees, obi ansha ba na utua the fees. Obi ansha una feeding no. Now that can be inferred from the behavior subanya bakoda na di to the other. That is implied. And no on shedan ka ba yehwe subanya ekoso nioma amoya, it means that there is a contract. There is an agreement to marry. Also from the actions such as giving and acceptance of an engagement ring. Now, whenever there is a proposal, usually I think say, and then I'm afraid I'm finding example. Or be making proposal. No, wakoto balu, no design it. Na I find say karaoke, baby, na ebo beat. No nearly, please will you marry me? No ashenikawa. Now that the moment there is a ring, the moment there is a ring, it means that there is an acceptance. There is an acceptance. So, the intention to settle down with the person. The next slide. So, when there is an acceptance, there is an implied and there is an express contract. The question is, say any people refuse to oblige or go by the terms of the contractor. Can you sue upon that? Worry no. What shall the boss of worry no? And then yamaso. Ubet me sue na. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Mo amasha bona mo semba worry na yamaso. Ebesati sue mo. The answer is yes. So the question is why? It is yes. Okay. Yes. Why yes? Now. There are some of us, we have been in a relationship for about 5 years. 5 years. There are some people that I know, why are washing bear 3 or over in one relationship. We're investing so much in the relationship. Everything every relationship was privy to both families. And then now, at that instant, the promises were seriously made. Seriously underlined. So when it is not met, it means it's a backward. Into court it me them. I will explain properly. Court it me them. And so be a show boss over wareo. Why you do so you know, you do what you wedia. Patro see you no mame. Funny baby see you no. Now we have types of breaches. The contract that you have, okay, contract number 4 me no. Sebaku breach, there ebe mo sue ni on no. There were types of breaches. There were 2 types of breaches. There were non-performance and there were anticipatory. So you can't anticipatory breacher, and it said, and you were 2023. You said, 30th June 2024. But before the 30th June, you do, you know, and I make a say, me worry ubiem. See, my shep was worry next year. Before the date, you do, you know, and I make a say, me worry ubiem. And a man worry. And only anticipatory date ni kwe nru and how menya worry. And what me see on that, or share bo a done and and what train that you can sue on it because it is allowed by law to sue. Now, I don't know, there is a caveat. Assembly home, in here. Say nipana or car say on ware no. Say edu wana say bia or defenses are the person can bring the reason why your car say on ware. We'll get there. But let's go to the next one. Non-performance breach. Non-performance, and they say, oh, train ya 30th new do and a 1 waro. 30th new do and a 1 waro. That means a non-performance. With the anticipatory breach, you know, the moment the person says, me waru biem, date new do you know, even before the date gets there and the date arrives, you can go ahead and sue because we're reneging on the promise. We're breaching the terms of the contract. Into so baware me Matthias me no watch mpena ye atwe mpena na na so say dem no watch mpena cha na we oba pa be say me ware okay into ye date ya share 30th June na 2024 any month or any date before the date arrives na me menya oba kokko bi shedo bo hwem baabi utuntum na encheme timi mpebiem e na me ko oba kokko no mean say date no kra enru contract no me breach no until you can go ahead and sue. But there is a caveat in the say nipa na or yes sir ebia before the date anticipatory between you no before the person before the date good if say nipa no ko ware tie or ko ware and or ware under customary law untimi nsiu tie untimi nsiu. Let me explain. Because my final example, sorry. Sorry, man, I that be sorry, man. So let me say that this gentleman and my precious here, they are in a relationship, they want to get married. And the way Yashebo said, August 20th, 2024. Before August 20th, 2024, no, and the way ko worry. Meaning, sir, I want to be no. Emma, so do you understand? But then, say we echo worry under customary law, the contract is still binding. Why? Customary law is potentially polygynous. Mean can polygamous. Polygynous just say ye or council worry 300 under customary law. Does it make sense? Say we. If he married the lady he got married to under customary law, you cannot sue him because on breaching any contract, on breaching promise, no. But if he married under ordinance, yeah, you know, say ordinance, no, then you can sue. But on worry under customary law, to muda, worry be account to train and do so. Is it understood? All right, that's it. So that is the anticipatory. But for the non-performance, it means it's when the date arrives, one warrior and a chair that you can sue upon it. Next slide. Next slide. Who is the one to? Okay, so under breach of promise to marry, are there defenses? Yes, there are defenses. Defenses, and they say, hey, Biana, there is fraudulent misrepresentation. Now let me say this: we are handling a matter. Now the matter is, Bema no ko worry. Oko wari oba, he never visited the lady that ewo ni fie. See, oba visiting a lady ni Shiana Bontain. They met outside and they had a conversation till he goes back. Other than that, a church. Other than that, a functions. Now he goes ahead and marries the girl. The lady is always wearing makeup. The real face. Ohunda. Now when they got married and then they went home, she had to go shower. Of course, shower by na tawo katerenim. Oyi nanim no the picture of the person he married and the one standing there, and you're the same person. That is fraudulent misrepresentation. Nipana or Warren in Nipana, they are two different people. When the portal say, oh, the person had a smooth face, but this one, two different people. So he came and said he doesn't want to marry again. And we are working on the matter for the person. Yes, court between. The court will divorce them because of fraudulent misrepresentation. Another thing is, there are people who comes around to marry and they will tell you that, oh, we are seeing them now, so we need them. The person will come and tell you, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. Kumasi for you know that you chose here yaboa. Namin kwan in him. Kumasi ni be me betime yaboa ma ko ton dem ne ma de abre no. Adam ya chawo. You see, so if a person misrepresents himself to you, and because of the misrepresentation, only the tribunal realizes that they all catch them. That is not the case. Then you can back out of the contract. The second one, a bad character. Now when you say "Nanu yasa," and then later you found that says "Nanu ya," only to buy baku say, or young katen kwanya or then catch no, they didn't go say "Nanu no asadi abreu in katen kwanya." Now, if you realize that she has that bad character, you cannot go ahead. You can divorce. You can break up. Okay. The third one, infidelity on the part of the woman. Now, there are people. Listen. As a church, we don't believe in sex before marriage. So, if you realize that, you know, there are people they are in the church. They are in a relationship. They are sanctimonious. They are pious. On person obey mistake be a meanwhile, ucha one chain. You know there are people like that. Ucha one chain. Send your own member who they ucha one chain. Send me. So when you find that out, you can break up the relationship before you get married. You can break it up. The fourth one, infidelity on the part of man if it is a monogamous promise. Monogamous marital promise. And he said, if the man promise you, say, I will marry you under ordinance, we will treat it very soon. Under ordinance. Say, me ware was sorry them, you listen, say, and crata. Na say, Ochafa Juan, utimi jaino. Name one Kasapa ware under ordinance, no ware, Ochafa ware under customary law, Ochafa Juan Kasak Wadutum. That's what the Mbra is saying, Untimini in Jai. Because no one over ware be home. That's what our law is saying. If so, shall we say under ordinance? Now, if the person cheats, then you can break up. But then before that, say what shall we say? Me, I am an Ashanti man, a pure Ashanti man. I want customary. You with you, be a baby. Yes. We try from one two. Insanity. There are people, I didn't say that you must. If you realize that, you can break it up. Bodily infirmity. Now this bodily infirmity, if it's just a part of the body, but what me movie the other part of the body, what me juma, an infirmity, it will cause substantial hardship. Example, will be a bedridden. Okay, that one will be very difficult for you to stay in a marriage with the person. On sorry, on the kind of home, okay, that's bodily infirmity. In you can divorce. And the mutual consent. You know, don't see any so you be a hubby, and you'll be uncle baby. Yen the case beware, Tintunta, and Yantua, and Yentia, will be uncle baby. So these are some of the defenses to breach of promise to marry. Next slide. So if you go to court, what are the remedies available to you? If you go to court, there was a case recently. The man had and a lady, like they were in a relationship, and on in the war. Now, when they had a child, the guy said, "It's okay, I'm worrying him," and the lady sued. Now, no court in Ghana can force you to marry any woman. No court. No court can force you to marry anybody. But the court can grant damages against you. Damages, court and they say, number one, number two, about never lose what. The court in Fena, or should I board the cast special? Cassia and the mobile. The quantum would depend on the case by case basis. My relationship when they send in a city, I know there are people like relationship about a or put the cast of one who can rented diamond on work every week. Emunam, baby. I know Sanuja notes me listening in the back quarter as a matter. Quite be reading in what you are swallow, and what you are. So the quantum is not fixed, it is given by case to case basis. Now, if you're in a relationship and then I give you a gift, whether it's a car, whether it's a phone, now some of the mouth, and I'm the gift in the mawa. The gift is premised on the marriage. So right now, I'm my dear brother. It's simple. If my dear brother, my dear brother. No, I was me told because I'm saying me and I'm a demand. And the gift I'm a demand was because I wanted to marry you. I want to master my dear brother. You know, Santoka. Imagine my dear. And to one would they are justified. Justified. Name if you bought the gift for the person, or touch as a gift, say whether we get married or not, far. A branch of Mijaya and Kohobi, Kofi and also Kunifi. iPhone 23 power fat. A cat, we are Mushia. And you should be able to prove that the gift you bought for the person, it was a gift, and I said it was premised on the fact that we are saying worry. And I'll talk gift in the man. So these are the damages and these are the remedies for gift giving, and then when you are divorced or breaking up. You can put the next slide. Now we are done with breach of promise to marry. Any question before we go to the next one? Any question before we move on to? Yes, sir. Hey, Doc. Yes, sir. I'm going to fast my money at once. So why? Yes, sir.
Okay, so my first question is concerning the issue of health. So first I want to find out that I know that in a church there's a vow that is made for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health.
Okay.
Which is like the term. So it means that if the person has a certain condition, let's say he goes out one day, is involved in an accident and becomes bedridden, then you can say that you said those words in the church. But in the case of the law, is there something the law prescribes that before you go into that contract? Because contracts, I want to believe that contracts have terms. So what does the law say? Are there specifics that the law recommends that before it is considered a marriage, these and these things are the conditions? Then the second is in the case of health, as I was saying. So the person can go to work and be involved in an accident, which is not something that he or she planned. So would you say does the law now give you the backing that even though you are in a contract, you should just walk away because now the person cannot support you financially? And the third is that it looks like, I don't know if it's, everything is a bit favored, everything favors the female gender, because in the case of, what you are saying, like two people getting married, they have a child, and now we say that the woman has lost value, so the man should rather compensate the woman. But is there something else that the law says concerning, because it takes two? Yes, thank you.
All right, so the first question, two dimensions. Okay, because you're talking about prenuptial agreement. We don't have that in Ghana. Yes. Marriage contract has terms, but then marriage is a special contract, not like any other contract. And there are steps and there are forms or there are ways that put it back out of the we'll get there. So I don't want to preempt myself. Now the second question, are you talking about before or after? When the person gets the accident, before the marriage or after the marriage?
After the marriage.
After the marriage.
Yes.
Now let me be quick to say this. Daddy said that with all due respect. Now, the church, see, the church has very little influence over marriage. Very little influence over marriage. Very, very little influence. Very little influence. The vows that you make, it is not statutory. Daddy MIQRA. The vows you make, it's not statutory. Like, you are not mandated to go strictly by those vows. You can change the words to suit you. Though you have to make vows. But then the words doesn't have to be the way you are saying it. People write their own words and they say it. Once there has been a vow, there's been a vow. And number two, vows are not part of the requirements mandated by law to make a marriage official. They're not part of it. We'll also get there. Now the third one. When a man says we are pregnant, you and who are pregnant? My wife, we are pregnant. As a matter of fact, then every law in the world before, at 4 times, not law in favor ma. Sorry, first night you can't mass home kedipa home. Sorry, but that is the truth. Some years ago, even as early as 1942, women were not voting in US. Women were not voting in US. Yes, but to about you tell your husband, a man were not voting. It was just recently a man be voting. Okay, so women before they were not treated right, but currently women are treated specially. That is why a man. That is why outside women love divorce because they get the chunk of settlement. So yes, the law is skewed towards women. The law favors women. That you can't take it out. Embrano favor ma enen kwada. Mema di embrano fa enye. Yes. Do you know sir, a woman can be raped, a child can be defiled, but a man cannot be raped. That is the law. And so una didn't bo una. I'm sorry I say to me and you know, so now you cannot rape a man, but you can rape a woman. So that is the law. So the law is it favors a man and kwada. Any other question before we proceed? Yes, Reverend.
Okay, my question is, 2 people are in a serious relationship that they want to get married.
Okay.
And the lady was going through a lot of health issues. Then it was diagnosed it was a kidney issue. Then out of love and because they want to marry, the guy gave one of his kidney for the lady.
We have an Odo Rasta.
Now along the line, about 5 months, he was calling the lady and giving excuses and things like that, and find out that the lady has found a different lover.
Fantastic.
Now,
Tuado.
for the surgery to be conducted, the parents were aware of the lady because their relationship were opened.
Okay.
Family was aware because the news said definitely they were going to marry. And now this is what the lady is saying. And I believe that the new lovers, the love that she has for the new guy is hotter and stronger than the past.
Hotter than fire.
So it's like, even when the mother advises, she's not ready to listen. And now the guy came out that then he needs his kidney back. Okay. With this one, what is the law also saying?
Okay, so let's go back to where the gift is, the gift part. Now this is a gift. Do you understand it's a gift? Good. Now, what was the terms of giving the gift? What the man said, I said, you know, a humanitarian grounds and away for marrying. Now, if it was because you wanted to marry her, and everybody is aware, then you can take your kidney back. Oh yes, it's a law. I gave it to you as a gift because I want to marry you. And you said, yeah. What the mommy and you are saying no. So if it is proven that yes, the kidney was given because I had the intention of marrying you, and you also knew because there was a contract, and now you have breached the contract. I'm kidney mommy back. Yes. But then if you give it to her as a gift, that is not premised on the fact that you wanted to marry her. Kofi, Nakoda, you can't take the kidney back. Yes, I beg. Please, one last question before and then we proceed. Oh, from my Derek, yes.
Yeah.
Those of you who are going to get married, I beg, start asking questions. So, yes.
Yeah. So, on the kidney.
Yes.
Doesn't that contravene any health? Because, like, I know that, say, if for kidney transplant or any transplant, you sign papers, you donate.
Yes, yes.
But for taking it back, doesn't that contravene any health this thing or something?
Now we have. Okay, I don't want to go too deep into it, but we have Article 11 talks about sources of our law. It talks about the Constitution, sources of our law, Ghanaian law. The Constitution is the primus inter pares of our laws. Now, every other law is subject to the Constitution. Do you understand? Good. Now, if there is a provision in the Constitution that says that when two people have a contract and the contract is breached, there must be restitution. Now, restitution talks about moving the person back to his original position. So, I have a contract with daddy that daddy will provide me cars, 300 cars. And I advance money to daddy. Daddy doesn't provide the cars. If I go to daddy, has to give me back the money, restore my money back to me. That is restitution. It's in the Constitution. It's there. So if you have a contract, I'm giving you my kidney, marry me, and you say no, you take the kidney. Now what you say? I can take my kidney back. However, as you're saying, if there are laws, now if there is a law that says that okay, if you decide to open it up, it could cause health problems. That is with the health side. I need my kidney back. I need my kidney back. Exactly. So unless it is proven, you have to prove it. Now everything that you want to embark upon, it needs to be proven by law. It needs to have a basis, a foundation in law. So when you go to court, that is why they say lawyers are liars. No lawyer is a liar. In fact, lawyers are the best. You can argue with your phone. That is your problem. Lawyers are not liars. It is a fact. Now, when the thing happened, you and I, we were not there. Were we there? No. So I will base my argument in court based on what I've been told by my client. So I cannot skew what he has told me. I can only present to court. And then one more thing. Court, court. Please. Court, court, we say evidence and law and fact. Into uno credit, first of all, them, of sort of kind of credit, Opa quarter. The way that is looking at me, I don't like it. The way that is looking at me, I don't like it. Yes, oh yeah. When you go to court, we speak evidence, we speak law, and we speak facts. So you are saying this is it. How do we prove that is it? There are people who have a lot of lands, because they didn't have the relevant evidence to support it. Ebi assassinated them was a gift. Those times, you know, the only people that can do it are witnesses. Witnesses, so how do you prove it? Papers. And power, 1960, 1990. And papers are so. So how do you prove, say, now, anyone for you cannot prove it. Intimedia, and then before that, when evidence upon the best support to us, intimate me kind of come and the client. Maybe so about your question. If the person can prove, yes, that we agreed on paper or in principle that me the kidney man or be worry me, tell me the man no so worry me. It doesn't matter. It has happened before. There is a precedent to that. But I've forgotten there is a precedent where the person gave, was it a kidney? Yes, something like that. Or Genadia back. It happens a lot. It's like giving money because somebody wants to marry you. Who this kind of man or somebody will be simple. That's simple. Yes, your last question before we go, yes.
Hello. Okay, so my question is related to your first slide, first bullet. I think it read that once there's a promise, the marriage actually kickstarts from that point.
The contract.
So, a contract.
Yes.
So what I wanted to ask is that, do you need witnesses? Because then otherwise, I can say, walk up to a lawyer and say that there's this lady that I even do not know at all, but the lady we have gone into some form of an agreement that we are going to get married. So do you necessarily need witnesses? Or will you just pursue any case someone comes to lodge with you?
Evidence.
Okay.
Everybody in the area knows. Everybody knows. Obadako, Obesinyamako, Obahuruka, baby, I'm everybody is aware. It's an open secret. We call it judicial notice. It's a judicial obedience. Any number one. Number two, what we talk about the question is about is an evidence. We don't need witnesses to be there. We need to see whether it was expressed or implied. If it was expressed, what's in the kawa? Also about one and when young one to base in the court. If it is implied, your actions. Hey, asuna be you, asuna break, asu. That is implied. You see, and you don't need witnesses. You need the surrounding circumstances, evidence. You call it circumstantial evidence to prove, say, I did it or more and I see it also. Of course, and that will be proven in court. Yeah, ready. Okay.
So, like on the implied, you know, one thing we've learned about, especially on the part of the ladies, is that don't assume a relationship.
Okay.
Right? Don't assume that you are in a relationship just because the guy is paying attention to you. The examples that you gave, MIQRA, Ukonifi Okosi Niema. Yes. Ebia Ukonifi Okosi Niema. Maybe you, the lady, you are thinking, say, oh, wait, yeah, we are in a relationship. Even though maybe, I'm talking about the implied because we on proposee, on can be, but with those actions, and maybe you, the lady, from the actions, you think, say, the guy is interested, so you are assuming a relationship. So what if the guy also says, oh, me man cash you, say yeah, now for. Like, how do you...
That is a bad man. Yeah. Now, you go to Criminal Offences Act 29, 1960, Section 132, which talks about defrauding by false pretense. The B will tell you that where a person acts in such a way to make another person to believe that he is something which is not, that is against the law. Why would you allow the person to come do all these things for you? Meanwhile, daddy, sorry to say, so what, you are doing all this, you are telling us, I mean, penalty. No, it doesn't say that. If it is implied, if the lady is able to prove the level of proof in civil matters, a preponderance of probability, you need to prove, say, who case outweighs the one of the other person. Until who evidence had the babano, I say, so man can be wareno, and so by that one, and it will be seen, and no would and I don't know what you made, and baby. So on you made, and that one will go against you. Now let's continue before. Now, the first type of marriage, we have three types of marriage. We have customary law marriage, we have Islamic marriage, and we have marriage by ordinance. Now, the first one, customary law marriage. Justice Oleno, he's a former Supreme Court judge. In a case called Yaute versus Kwe, I'll go to that case. I'll say, customary law marriage is a union between a man's family and that of the woman's family. That is customary law marriage. So, under customary law marriage, you need the families to agree for you to marry. Now, what are the features of customary law marriage? So that means under customary law marriage, yes, two people can marry. Two people can just agree to marry, whether the family agrees or not. You can go ahead and marry. But under customary law, you need the fusion of that of the man's family and that of the woman's family. The features are these. Number one, it is potentially polygynous, meaning the man can marry and marry and marry and marry and marry as many as he wants. You need cap, you need limit. The number two is some marriages are prohibited on grounds of consanguinity and affinity. Now, over a caste system now, you can marry your uncle's daughter in the caste system. You can marry your offer, you can marry the person. And I can. Yes. But in other tribes, you cannot. And there are other tribes, when you marry one lady, so you said about to be pew, so come home. So we don't bomb what you are Shanam and Nafuna to turn her. Why she know? They said about what's a pew so. But then there are some families, there are some tribes, they don't allow close. In fact, even under Ghanaian law, you cannot marry your brother, you cannot marry your sister that close. Why? It has blood-related issues. So when you marry your close relative, it believes that the blood running through her or him, is the same blood running through you. So if there is a disease, you are keeping the disease within. But then if you are let to go apart, it is able to solve the issues and all that. So there be a blood-related disease, Emma one family. Because there are families that they have issues of high blood pressure and all that. But then if they are able to intermarry other people or other tribes, so marriages are prohibited on grounds of consanguinity and affinity. Consanguinity means close relationship. Close. Okay, family. Affinity is the same thing. You are close. Okay, you are affiliated to the person. Customary law and ordinance marriages are mutually exclusive. When Ambolaga and Arena MIQRA and then baby, you come there. Customary law marriage can be converted to ordinance, after which the customary law falls away automatically. Meaning, say, if you contract a marriage in the house, if you're a traditional marriage, why do you fear? Now, when I say, "O spicing up," with me, I converted the court ordinance by following the procedures outlined by the ordinance. Now, what year for customary at the court ordinance? We understand the customary law marriage, it falls off. You are no more married under the customary law. So there are people, people around your area. On an area jai, on the kunajai, omo wari ufi, and I'm going to sign or I'm sorry, it as a court. When they did that, a fear a good. What they did in the house it's off. And it's ordinance command prana, jaya warrior. Listen. No, they are still married. They are still married. Because me and Sana they call the church you have to go through the due process in court to make sure that the marriage has been legally unbinded. Through the legal means. Other than that, if you marry again, it becomes bigamy, which is against the law. It's an offense under Ghanaian law. Bigamy means what worry two. What worry two. The next slide. A man married under ordinance cannot enter into a valid customary marriage or marriage under ordinance with another woman. So if you marry under ordinance, you cannot marry under customary law, or you cannot marry under another ordinance. The ordinance just once, you are done. Just once. It has become synonymous with engagement where ring is not given as ceremonies. Way before in quote and na if you are yen shekawa. If you are yen shekawa. Kawa de nana say neighbor. If you the more engagement, that is what engagement, that is traditional customary marriage. Ni yen shekawa. Na nse na mafo so ade kawa na be shemu a, ye hye kawa ni bi. Na kawa nka ho. No, kawa na nka ho. So it has now become synonymous with engagement where ring is not given as ceremonies. And the existence of a customary law marriage, listen, is not a condition precedent to the creation of a valid marriage under the Marriages Act. Whether you do the customary law marriage or not, you can still marry under ordinance. You don't necessarily need to do the customary law marriage before you do the ordinance. So it is not a condition precedent by force to say. Before, there are churches I know, Oba Waria, we say, why and why do you feel? And we here. And we here. That is it. Before you come to the church, whether you are married in the house or not, that is not a condition precedent for you to be allowed to marry under the Marriages Act. Ordinance. Baby. That is not it. Whether we with you or not, that is why people go to court, they sign and they go. Obiani, omunye fini chake biya. Okosen sign krata or code picture no the baby. Opa party asie, opa mama ti asie, on fa ho, abesen sign it, open na fufu 2, open ya 2, no okosen sign, omu witness so waware. The law regards that marriage. The next slide. Procedure of formal customary law marriage. Now the procedure is simple. So I've seen this very nice girl, which I really want to, get settled down with, marry. Now I ask her where she comes from. Also if we now I have to go to the house, see the family, and tell the family, okay, I will come another date. Now what we call the knocking. The knocking. So they'll give you a date. You come, you bring for Akan. Let me speak about Akan. Akan, you bring snaps too. And then you add, I think, 100 or 200 cedis to it. Then you come and officially introduce yourself to the family that me no banana e chempana. Yet to be say worry. Na me no ba bechere. Till that day now, there will be a list ready for you. Ya bobo list not what that. Notebook me and in the room. Yeah. Akobi also ko worry. iPhone 13 yensa. O see I am fortunate you know. I am fortunate in our Kahumbi. I want 13. Okay, so when I listen to the whole, to buy it, they give you the list, and they give you 6 months duration. Though you can exceed the 6 months, provided you are ready. You come. If you're not ready, wait, relax. Don't be under pressure. We are ready now. When I listen to those, I said the 10 years better now to was here. After 10 years, to listen now, and more be more pressure. Okay, so when you go there, by the time you get there, the list will be ready. They will give you the list. Then you return after a date that you will have agreed on. You will have agreed on. You come and you perform all the rites. Now the main thing, the main component of a traditional customary law marriage is what we call a trinsa, the bride price. I know of a tribe, they take an entry 75. An entry 75. I know of a tribe, do 20 acres of yam. Ebano could talk or turn this kind of breno. They want to see you a man. Yes, there are other tribes too. You pay a token, you pay money for them to officially accept. Other tribes you pay carries. Okay, carries sit there. You give it to them. So it is dependent upon tribe. Okay, tribe by tribe basis. Right now, the knocking is not a marriage ceremony. Those of you who have friends and relatives who have gone to do knocking and watch out, knocking is not marriage. Knocking is a formal introduction. However, if you go do the knock, now after some time you don't marry the person can sue you for breach of promise to marry. Listen, you are still dating whatever you are doing. Now after a reasonable time, reasonable time is dependent upon the eyes of the court. What the court to see is reasonable. I want to know who reasonable time. I should give you a reasonable time. You cannot go do no can for balance now 10 years and you change me now so yet. Brother. Okay, so reasonable time, you need to marry the person a reasonable time. Where you refuse to do so, the person can sue you for breach of promise to marry. The next slide. Essentials. Now these are the main essentials of a customary law marriage. The first and the most important part, agreement by parties to live as husband and wife. So if you have a young sister or a sister or whatever, now it is against the law. Nobody should be forced into a marriage agreement. No, if you force a person that you can be incriminated, it's against the law. What do you mean for so being warrior? It's against the law. The first precedent is that the two of you more agree to metna so yiri any wukunu as husband and wife. That is the first one. Agreement to live as husband and wife. If there is no agreement, any other thing here, it is irrelevant. The second one is a formal or informal consent of the woman's family that she be the wife of the man. Now you know there are people who are living together. They are not married, okay? But the man's family, the woman's family, who no see ourselves. A year ba utia as a even say NCD is it NCE or NCE aha. Na so na afi de mo mra mehwe oh ma me bebe fie aha. Asiwadu man wo ye no. Even though you're worried no, but once the consent of both families are sought, say the two of them are living together, that settles it. Whether it is formal or informal. The formal one was what I thought you said. You go do the knocking, take the list and all. The last one, a consummation by habitation. This one I'll talk about it. Consummation by cohabitation. Any marriage that is not consummated is not marriage. I'll talk about consummation very, very soon. Now, the informal type of marriages. Next slide. Types of informal marriage. Now, the customary law marriage, you need two. You're formal and informal. The formal one, I've taught you, say you have to go to the lady's family, do the knocking, take the lace, go back. The informal, you have 5 types of informal marriage. Customary marriage, you have 5 types. The first one, and he said, watch your baby animal. And you're for Christ there, but watch your baby animal. And I wouldn't drink. That is marriage. It settles it. It is not formal, it's an informal marriage. The law recognizes that. The second one, there is a type of marriage. So, I get married to a lady. I traveled outside. So for about a year or two, my mother, I haven't come to Ghana. We'll talk on phone. Now, another man sees the lady. Then you ask the man who married the lady. Oh, me bought 2,000 Ghana cedis. Take your money, Obana Mafano, or Emire. That settles it. You see, there is a case called Asuma versus Kayer. Asuma versus Kayer. It happened like that. Or what do you know? And another man saw the lady. No open or no man. You see, but you ain't no a replacement. Remember, we replace you as Obaniku. It is also there. Who won't be nice? Niku will now open us and yell to go try the car. With me, track and now they call. The third one is where a man and a woman are acknowledged as husband and wife by both families when no drink has been presented. Though on fire and sound quiet, but phobia friend said, and it's only in Ghana and as we bit no now where say or any I don't know why that is so. Oh, only kumfie. Mammy, me ya away. Oh, only kumfie. Now ya worried about oh, only be maybe net see. Only kumfie. Only kumfie. No need kumute. And no, there was a tribe. I will mention the tribe name. Oko Febito also. Now say obani free one. You marry the corpse. Mr. Wo, Mr. You move beheading. You marry the corpse. Ono banete. Only kumfie. Aye, only kumfie. But don't worry. No, you know what dear. If the woman dies, you marry the corpse. Oba wari e fununo 70. Oba wari fununo. Oba ye funu ho de ashe ne kawa. Ene na dama de achen. We see hey, yo that's na ho. Oba ye no ho de ma de achen na dama de achen. It is very dangerous. The fourth one is where after you have impregnated a girl, you've sent a first drink to acknowledge that yes, me na manyim no. Then you send a subsequent drink to say okay, I have an intention to come and marry the lady. That becomes a marriage. That becomes a marriage. The last one is where a man and woman live together. They have, you know, there are two people, they are living together. Together. Maybe almost boom, business boom. That is marriage. That is marriage. And to know being worry, must have investment together. Mammy, I branch what worry no. What worry no. My investment, we can the same bank account. Now we save in, and I'm worry at it. I'm worry at it. I want to start in worry at it. Okay, so how do you register customary law marriage? Registration. Now, after the ceremony, you go to the court. You tell the registrar, "Yawari, ewofi, yepesi register." Okay, then they will fill a form for you. After filling the form, they will paste the document outside for 3 months, saying, "Say, asime senior bente so mawari." It's a more a certificate to show so mawari. Now, if anybody has anything to say, Abiana Bearman already, what baby dada, oh baby, and about what we not come home, but I after 3 months, one ma, Ashegu, they are married. So after 3 months, and if you don't come, then they will give them what we call the certificate, the entry. Okay, a duplicate, a copy of the entry. Normally, Kofi has registered the customary law marriage. That is under customary law. Yes, that's under customary law. But then where a person comes and said, "I brought him in," say, "What dada?" Or what you know, maybe or you know, sababachere pone, and our babu waru kumase. So you present evidence to that district court now, Kokoyeno. Then they will give them a letter. They will serve them. They will come, and they will have to argue. Say no, on worry. So when it is found or discovered, say, "Bearman waware dada," then the entry no will be expunged. But where it is discovered, so on worry, then they will be given a copy, and then wakoda waware. Any question on the customary law? Any question? Please, Daddy wants to ask a question. Okay, Daddy has a microphone.
Question on the, you're talking about the fact that if, let's say, you promise, you decide not to carry on with the marriage, there's something we call judicial witness. If I heard you right.
No.
You said.
So like he was asking. I think he has a question. Said, how do you prove? Yes. So because I'm to judicial notice. That everybody has taken notice.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, so no judicial notice. Okay. So does it mean that because the people around, they all know or acknowledge that you are dating this person, and you even give an example that the person comes there and then he goes, does that make it valid in the eyes of the court? That because everybody knows that, okay, this one, you have been cohabiting with this person, and so if the person says that I want to break the relationship, then you can take the person to court. If that is the case, can somebody also sue somebody for deciding to break a relationship after he has had sex with the person?
Okay, so.
And then the second, okay.
Should I answer this one before?
Okay.
Okay. So the caveat is there must be an express promise or implied that I will marry you. Okay, that I want to marry you. So if it is expressed, there must have been a word from me to the lady that me person me know wow. Me say me wow. Me say me know what's not.
Okay, but it's implied that he has expressed a desire, because there's no evidence to show that he has expressed a desire. But now you going with the lady, then you have had your way with the lady, and then you say, "I'm breaking the relationship." Can the lady take you to court?
No, you can't take it to court.
Then why can the court also say that because you have been cohabiting, then that constitutes a marriage?
Okay. So the difference between the two is this. One of them, there have been what we call an effort or an input. Right. Now when two people are divorcing, when two people are divorcing, one thing that the court looks at is substantial contribution. Substantial contribution. We'll get there. So in the relationship, there is contribution that flows from one party to the other. So the court will want to find out, what exactly did you contribute? What was it that makes you think that this man owes you anything? So you need to tell the court, okay, I paid the school fees. Oh, I was cooking for him. I was washing for him. On your washing machine, but I was washing for you. She was doing things that ordinarily a normal girlfriend will not do. And then you acknowledge that. That certain area, there are people that acknowledge, oh, you would have said they are married. But they are not married. They are only training and plan. Okay, they are only training. But in the eyes of everybody, everything shows. So that is implied. Everything shows. You might not have made an express point, but per what we have seen and what she's doing for you. I remember there was a matter which a man killed a lady recently. According to the fact of the case, she took the lady to school, paid her fees for, I think, nursing for 3 years. The lady came back, he gave her a job. I mean, he found a job for her, bought her iPhone, whatever. Obi didn't be with me, took her free Accra North. Now, this one, the family knew, in fact, the whole family knew that they were in a relationship. People knew, everybody knew. So this one, you don't need to talk too much. The evidence around the thing will show that, yes, the two of them, there is something going on. Nobody saw. What's someone? You can't see you. And no, it was, and no, you can't see because there was no serious promise made. Or there was no serious promise made. But where the promise is serious, where evidence is like things done after the promises show, say, or the everything shows that we were intention to marry me, then yeah, that is an extreme. And different from the now come. Now I say Obia Pel or no Akoda. I say there are surrounding circumstances that you have to prove. So this one, he has done a lot of things before that happened. But say, oh, me Pel, I'm saying if you marry baby, you cannot sue me. But then where these things have been done, you have gone on, I mean, certain extent, then yes, the person can sue when one another also marry him. Right? And then the court will not look at the fact that one another now marry them. No, that is not it. The court doesn't look at sex. The court looks at effort, contribution. Sex in the I found when you put the baby free. But then the court will look at the contribution you made. Because that's in there, and you're not one area, also reading.
So in this case, can somebody use pregnancy and then sue a guy for impregnating her and not marrying her?
No.
Because that's also a contribution that I've given my body and I'm carrying your baby. So then the law is biased.
So when I slept with you, I didn't promise you I was going to marry you. I didn't promise I was going to marry you. Man, shop was some waro. Some shop was some waro na when you mean I'm some waro dia. That is different. So you have to prove. So now one other you have to prove.
Then I think now people should write formal. Yeah, when you are somebody say, I mean, you should write and stamp, sign, so that for future
because you see, you cannot prove unless you have evidence, hardcore evidence that yes, this guy did this and that and that. You cannot prove it. Yes. So let's go to the next one, Islamic marriage. Now this one is very interesting. Now look at the definition of Islamic marriage. It is defined as a contract for the legalization of intercourse and the procreation of children. And kemofa wari eni nti obo wari ne se ye ma okwana no obi ada na mo awo eni nti na mo wari bibia ni mu bi masa. For them it's about procreation. For Muslims, the reason for marriage is procreation. That is why when they go somewhere, what me go sa am I being in our oh yeah, for Muslims, wherever they go, they dominate by giving birth. They procreate plenty. So for them, their reason for marrying is to procreate. But before you start procreating, there must be legalization. They must give you that opportunity to marry. All right? Now, for them, I will talk a little bit about their marriage. Their marriage is, if I see you and I want to marry you, okay, you have to bring 2 people with you to my house. When you bring the 2 people with you to my house, then you tell my family that, okay, I have seen this person that I want to marry, and so I am coming to marry her. And the answer must be given there, no, there. And when so if you say yes, yeah, warrior. If you say no, me come if you. So when you give the answer there, then the ceremony will follow. So when they come, they're already prepared, bringing their things with them. So as an account for before an account of marriage, they have to go do the knocking. Then they need knocking and say, yeah. The who that and my parents be straight. It's as simple as that. Now, when they want to divorce, their divorce is fantastic. Should they come? Oh, come. So say this is my wife. Talak. I've divorced you. I'm done. If you want to divorce in Islamic religion, you say the word talak 3 times. What we and one answer. Oh yes, it is simple. It is simple. Talak, number 1. Talak, number 2. Talak, number 3. Yejai. You go home, I go my home. Yejai. So that is Islamic marriage, right? So yes, and Islamic marriage, when they marry, you see, the danger with Islamic marriage is that most of the people that get married under Islamic law, their marriage is not recognized. Why? When you marry on Saturday, by the following Friday, you should have registered the marriage. Other than that, it is not known and regarded under law. So most Islamic marriages, they are married traditionally per their tradition. But under Ghanaian law, they are not married because they did not register the moment they got married. They have a week, just 1 week. Under Islamic law, they have just 1 week to marry. We go there. And Islamic law, it is polygynous. The men can marry up to 4. No more than 4, up to 4. Okay, up to 4. At most 4. So for them, when they want to marry, it's like the customary marriage. They can marry up to 4. But for customary marriage, you can marry multiple. So yes, you need to register the marriage within a week. Other than that, the marriage is null and void. It is null and void. And the law provides that where the marriage is not registered after a week, you can try and then go to the High Court to seek permission to register it after the 1 week. But you'll explain why you had to delay for that long, why you did not marry. So if the court is satisfied, they will allow you to register the marriage. Because right now, if 2 people in Islamic religion have married or they are married under Islamic law and they did not register, if the man dies, the property, nobody can touch the property unless the court shares the property. So if you know somebody who is a Muslim about to get married, no, so what do we have? Uncle register. Other than that, if anything happens, all the properties will fall under the intestate succession law, intestacy, for the law to share the properties for them, for the family. I'll talk a little about that. Now let's go to the next one. This is where all the problem is. This is where all the problem is. Ordinance. Please pay attention to this one. Someone has a question. Okay. At the back. Oh, okay, yes. Let's go.
Okay, so
yes.
Please, you said that with the Islamic marriage, the divorce is for the man to say talak to the woman.
Yes.
So what if the man can't speak? Is that?
I beg that one. I wasn't taught. Yeah, you know. Hey, well, that's a nice question, though. That's a fantastic question. So, how does the man say talak if the man cannot speak? The man doesn't need to say he can write in Arabic and show you any talak. Then he can write. So once the lady can read, I write it talak number 1, talak number 3. He died. Right? Yes. Now this is where the problem is. Please, almost all of us, will marry under this one. So please pay very particular attention here and ask a lot of questions. Because now, what is ordinance marriage? Or say it is a voluntary union for life of one man and one woman. So even Emrofono Krahana, they understand it's one man and one. I don't know why they are trying to skew with these days. They know. Okay, they know. It's a one man and one woman to the exclusion of all others. That means, number one, it is voluntary. No one has to force you to marry. I've already said that. Number two, if you are married under ordinance today, understand it is for life. Oh, what in this world? Number three, it is one man, so between a man and a woman, not a man and a man, a woman and a woman. This is English law, England, Lord Penzance, sorry. And it is the exclusion of all others. So as soon as you are married, no more marriage. You are done. Until one person dies or there is a divorce. Now this is the features. It must be, this marriage must be for life. It is for life. The marriage contract cannot be forced on any individual. The marriage must be to the exclusion of all others, and it's the union between a man and a woman. Now, before you marry under ordinance, there were special requirements. There were two requirements. You have the substantive requirement and the procedural requirement. The substantive requirement and the procedural requirement. What is the substantive requirement? These are very important factors that anybody entering marriage should know before you even agree to marry. Number one, the capacity to enter into marriage. Ghana, you cannot marry when you are under 21 years. Listen, I'm coming to explain. You cannot marry when you are under 21 years. If you are not up to 21 or between 18 and 20 years, you can marry. But that will be only with the consent of your family. Then you can go and marry. If your mother says no, no. If your father says no, no. That is between 18 and 20. Under Ghanaian law, when you are 16, you can have sex. When you are 16, you can have sex. Free. No problem. Below 16, if anybody has sex with you, whether you agree or not, it is defilement. When you are below 16 and you have sex, whether a guy with a lady above 16 or whatever, a defilement. Above 16, if anybody have sex, so listen, below 16, whether you agree, whether you accept, whether you understand or not, it doesn't matter. The court doesn't care. I mean, I'm women, defilement. Below 16. Above 16, when you do not agree for sex to happen and it happens, that is rape. Above 16, that is rape. If you're not 18, you cannot marry. Whether you are ready, whether your mother says yes or no, you cannot marry. Listen, between 16 and 18, say 16, 17, you cannot marry. 18 to 20, you can marry, but only until your mother says yes, go ahead and marry. Your father says yes, go ahead and marry. No worry. Above 21, you don't need the mother, they say yes or no, you can go and marry, nobody cares. That is the first point. The second point is that the parties must enter into it voluntarily. Number one. Item number two, voluntarily. It must not be forced. It must not be coercion. It must not be under duress. On one, the third one, grounds of consanguinity and affinity. It is prohibited on that. Say, you cannot marry your sister, you cannot marry your brother, you cannot marry your mother's daughter. I mean, those things, you know. Then you come to the procedure. Now, this is where another problem is, procedure. We have 3 procedures to marry. 3 procedures. Number 1, we have the registrar certificate. Number 2, we have the marriage officer certificate. Number 3, we have special license. Let me explain. The registrar certificate is where, number 1, couples who want to marry apply to the district court that we want to marry. Then they fill a form. Okay, so they will fill a form. And when they fill the form, it will be published on the notice board for 3 months. That is 90 days. Say, Obia or Sembia Kafa or Omeka. Anya Sani Vine Warum Vida. See. So those of the churches, those churches now, I'll come there. I'll come there. So yes, it is fixed on the notice board for 3 months. After the 3 months, they will come back and then they will be issued with an affidavit. When they have duly told the court to say, okay, or you're above 21, okay, or not any people, then a certificate will be granted to you. Your man certificate now, then you have to marry within 3 months. Also marry within 3 months. One marry within 3 months, you have to start the process all over again. So there's a problem there. There are people who get issued certificates. Quarter. Within that time. The warrior is not recognized under law. The next slide. Okay, so where the marriage does not take place within 3 months after date of notice, then all the proceedings consequent before on the notice was given, what becomes void. A fresh notice shall be given to them. Now let's go to the marriage officer certificate. The next one, next slide. Now, if you want to marry, the 2 people will go to the pastor. Okay? Now, you have to go to the pastor on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. After that, don't go to the pastor. Monday, that is if the church is a Sunday church, you need to go to the pastor on Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday. 4 clear days before the pastor will announce to the church that Kwame appear and they want to get married. Because the publication of bans. Publication of bans. Now these 2 people will be shown to the church. They'll be shown to the church for everybody to see that these people are going to get married. For 3 consecutive Sundays. 3 consecutive Sundays. Or 3 consecutive divine service. So a Saturday church, 3 consecutive Saturdays. A Sunday church, 3 consecutive Sundays. Now this is where the problem is. The church, where it is located, the predominant language, Kumasi Chinyeka. So if daddy gives the announcement in English, also the tree. I'm going to be said daddy can't bro from a tree, but what so the problems are coming one by one. The problems are coming one by one. The publication of bans. So if it is Volta region, when they speak English, they must bring it to Chi. Ewe. For everybody to understand. Where they refuse to do it in either English or Chi or just one, the marriage is null and void. They never married. Number 2, the person who is giving the publication must be licensed. The publication, everyone is senior pastor, and what your announcement. Now, or your announcement first, you second week when you're preaching a point to be in 20 years, in the associate pastor, sir, announcement, it doesn't count. The marriage is null and void. Mama, what most starting counting? Most starting to say. Most starting to say, now I'm serious. Now, this one, when it goes to court, and you see, recently there was a matter that has been dispensed with. One very popular footballer. Now assembly said, he was saying that the lady was already married. He knew till no you aware so about 17 years. He knew, he was aware. And I want only the giant of how did she get married? She married when she was 17 years. That marriage of convenience, she entered into that contract and 17 under Ghanaian law, it is not recognized on one year. But then once I didn't start a contract, it was binding on her. Into a buy and under Ghanaian law, that marriage was null and void. It shouldn't have been recognized. However, I don't know what the judge saw. The judge found a way to say, once one kind of grant changing into no, our any legitimate. First one, no, into winning our into a well warrior. In fact, per law, it is annulment, not dissolution. We come there. Annulment means they never married. On worry that. Among worry that is 17 years no more. This one is very critical. Now, the publication of bans entails the announcement of the intention of the parties to get named in a notice to marry. The publication must also call for persons who may know of a just cause why the parties should not be joined together. Why your announcement me and send 3 weeks why you will be a ma, what the notice will be a ma, 3 months will be a ma. After that, now more than one. These two are married and married. So if anybody has anything, they should come forward and say, oh, forever hold your peace. If anybody comes up and says, Beman or Beman or Emiri, or so Mukunu, men are what that now are in a maswa, who soften, it makes you court. You will pay for every expense in Kent. You pay for every single penny almost spending somebody worrying on. Because under law, why that? Why you that? Well, any panel of boys, some kind of well, into Uncle that. I saw them more and why only some kind of you don't have anything to say. Keep quiet and hold your peace. All right, the next one. The marriage officer shall personally publish the banns of marriage between the parties in the place of worship of the parties. The marriage officer may authorize another person in writing to publish the banns. Now, say all publishing, make us all catch us, sorry, say, you know, say so for no timini, not so timini can. And what's all true crata? Official letter. A stamp to send me, Daddy Joe, I am ordering you. Pastor Adam send me. So please make the announcement on my behalf. One tell Pastor Adam the come on worry, my worry and so it must be in writing. Where the parties do not attend the same church, separate notice shall be required. And it's a way called Roman, that we call Presbyter. You've been in different churches. You've been in Roman and Presbyter. I'm called the same church here. You've been in the same church at the same time. But you'll be with different churches or many different times. Okay, at the different churches. The bans shall be published on 3 Sundays, and if no caveat has been entered, you can't caveat. A caveat means where a person has a problem with the marriage. Say, be a bemano, wawari dada. Okay? And I say, be a wawari under ordinance. So, worry under customary law, don't worry under ordinance to another person. There be. Or worry under customary law, don't worry will be under ordinance. He can only marry somebody under the same customary law, not under ordinance. Okay. And if somebody has anything to say, no, at the bar, it will go to court. They will seek out the matter and see whether the person has a case. Only case, then they will proceed to get married. But where there is a case, then the marriage will not come off. Next slide. If the marriage is not solemnized within 3 months, so within 3 months, man warrior, you have to start the process all over again. All over again. Here for the last one. Special license. Now, special license is this. Where 2 people want to get married. Next week. They can't go through the procedure. They can't go through the publication of bans, advertising. So they go to Registrar General's department. Then they go see the senior registrar there. They tell them, it's okay. You worry, men worry, also worry that. Obi any commitment. Next week you are traveling, you want to get married. Yes, sir. My license, you don't worry. You'll be asked certain questions. If the questions now or maybe were convinced that, then they will give you a license to go and marry. That license, you can marry anywhere. Anywhere you want. Anywhere you can marry anywhere you want. You can marry in the church, you can marry at the court, you can marry anywhere. And a certificate will be given to you. Okay, a marriage certificate. All right. Now, when does marriage become null and void? I beg, next slide. Marriage will be null and void if it is celebrated elsewhere other than the office of registrar of marriages. Say yes, be worry. Na say we do court na say we da mountains wa worry on worry. We court today ni koni ensira so ma. Any number 1. Number 2, if this is another thing. There was a man, he wanted to divorce the wife. And a worker said, they are not married, but I won't worry. Why? I said, baby, I won't celebrate here, baby, I share awareness. The place was not licensed. He knew, no, you're aware, but one can't. Only me say, baby, I'm going to worry. They're licensing. He didn't say, I said, buy no can say, they worry you, because I worry you. Baby, I go worry, you're licensing. Into a worry. Into where you are contracting the marriage, you know, say, oh, you're licensing what? Maybe you want to marry here. Okay, you want to marry here. Aha must be licensed. The place must be licensed. Near Oshida Sono, I will say we're licensed. There are people who bless marriages or brand license, you know, that were reading in a bogus. So together confund the Shida Soma, oh, problem. Saturday for Ibia, Gongophobia, only license, Oshasma, oh, problem. The person who is blessing the marriage, you know, and what's a one license to bless the marriage? And yes, sir, or marriage, you know, it is not recognized in law. The third one, if you are going to marry and then, okay, the fourth one, if you change your name and we discover that the name that you used was not your name, that marriage is null and void. That means you are another person. You are a different person from what you claim to be. It's a dinner of the Mayeno. We didn't go to Poku. What's your friend Michael and Cancer? You are two different people. It's that warrior, it's not a warrior. Without registrar certificate of notice, marriage officer certificate, or license from the principal registrar. Now, if you are married under ordinance, that's the one go through cinema and say, so go warrior will court. Oh, warrior was sorry them. And I say my special license. I want to also warrior. Say, yeah, customary law marriage. Don't worry. Don't worry. Now, I'll tell you why this is important. The next slide. Next one. Okay, by a person who is not a recognized minister of a recognized denomination or body, yes, as I said. So what sorry no? So I bind him what sorry no? I bind you what sorry into mu. Okay, and you're sorry into mu. So what worry in dimu. If bans were not published in accordance with the provisions of the Marriage Act, bans no announcement no, ya nyano said you was say yanwa. The patch of what worry in dimu. If a caveat was removed, obi ka so or asem, by more and one. If the marriage was not celebrated within 3 months of the date, some more announcement, about 3 months, no, one worry in 10 or 3 months, which one, my warrior, no, endimu, and now warrior. If it was celebrated under an expired license, the license 3 months, who worry after 3 months, no, warrior, and worry. Go and marry. Next. Okay, now let me finish with this one. Nullity proceedings, void and voidable. Now, divorce, you do divorce. There are 2 types of divorce. There was dissolution and there was annulment and there was divorce. Annulment, no, nullity proceedings. This one, it means that my wife is so bad. See, it is so bad to the extent say, your marriage is so bad, so bad. They say, now, this one, it does not comply with the substantive and procedural requirement on our body license or so worry. Nipa no worry, nipa no 16 years or so worry. Nipa ni niaba or so worry, yamushia, any is our worry no in dimu. Number 2, ebe nipa worry dada. He's already married or she's already married under ordinance. And once I worry, some marriage is null and void. It is so bad that we are mushia any. A party may, however, apply for a decree. It is our and say that here. It is a me who say, no worry that I worry me here divorce. See, sour in here divorce. Here in here divorce, me say, be anywhere just a worry. Be just a worry. Because we were 16 years. and waware no eni mrem we nua ba and waware no eni mrem ye force ne ma no ware eni mrem waware dada eni mrem enti aware no anya aware tutu so utumi fa bag na ko obi anu mi asem unhia divorce. However, open divorce quick up divorce on two things. Number one, ebia oni ne agapade bi okoje o share. Number two, say the bia obi hu say okwa nware da. Ti etwa ware ni ma court court etwa ware ni mo obi hu say aware kwa da nya aware dada. Let's go to the next one. Next slide. This one, there are no you need any anu ye say I have a defense. Any defenses. Once void, it is void. Now, say ba ku kura na ba ku timi court equity application say aware no ni twem court between mama. Because aware it is never existed. And this one, another party be attention energy. Or how aware 16 years one aware no. Energy no aba court na court between aware mama because on ka ho onye party to the marriage onye bushani energy keke. Energy no akọ 16 years mo ntwa aware ni. Yanko next one hurry up the next one. Next slide. Voidable. This one, yes, it is wrong in law, but until so we take steps, and that's all. And this is it. A voidable marriage is defective marriage that remains valid until annulled by a decree issued by a court of competent jurisdiction. And yet, it is not in law, but when take steps, so we and that's all. And nobody can move to do anything about it unless you do something about it yourself. Characteristics, it is the right of parties to end it. Third party, intimina wonshe. Unya decree by the court. So ubeguno. A decree will not be granted after the death of one spouse. Se bakuwa, bakun timi court and decree say no married or chep debi. A party to avoidable marriage cannot enter into a valid marriage with a third party until the avoidable marriage is annulled. Until na worry, awari ni ndimu, but untimi ko worry for until say betwa sa awari nim. Next. Good. Circumstances that will render a marriage voidable. Lack of consummation. T. Oh, I don't know who is fasting 6 months. Oh, why also fasting 6 months? Into one that more worry. You're not married. Ordinarily, I know certain churches are. Oh, why do we are not pano afro? Yeah, so for we see the end. And you know about Juma, so for Juma, yeah. It needs to be proven said be man oba ware won say be ne nya emu ye itimi bodwuma to ware wi na ontimi ne won na ye for some months nya dwuma aware gu aware no eye within a year what it 10 time na do sounds when spider what 10 time what spider. Where a party is of unsound mind, okay, you need to divorce. Where a woman was pregnant with another man's child at the time of marriage, before any warrior, maybe I know him, no him. Warrior just say one him dada, go warrior no. Senegal Joseph for the year married no, go warrior no. It's simple. Where one party is suffering from an incurable and infectious disease, listen. If you get married and you realize that Bemano or Yari and Gibia Indian would do an infectious Indian is just of mammy on your or sort of Ube. Okay, I said I don't pay the ultimate now. But incurable and infectious disease. Your Yaribuha is an incurable and infectious disease. When you realize that, you can divorce a person. But then before you go to court, you must prove that now unim say or was that situation before you got married. Now unim, you're not aware. Number 2, petition, out of the court, it should be filed within the year now. First year, you file that petition, and then you can tell the court that sexual intercourse with this or consent has not taken place. Now, if I decide to go into the consummation, the law says that the least I don't want to okay, that one is a bit way. But then when it comes to consummation, it doesn't need to last for hours. It doesn't need to last for minutes. Or the bomb will be consummated. Once the person can prove, say he was able to penetrate anyone, penetration, penetration. Once it is proven, but if you prove the court say you're so flappant, I mean, and sort of cry, there was a matter that they were ladies that was through sex before the husband goes to personal. Now we're not come in the amwa. Or also a person has been raped before into start feeling for sex. It's a kind of vaginal spasm, and one has come one. I said, "One, walk around." No, I went there. Now call baby. The next slide. There we have. Okay, now divorce. Now this one, I'm done. About divorce, there were 6 grounds for divorce, and then you cannot divorce before 2 years of marriage. It needs to be after 2 years of marriage. So about what die before 2 years, you need to prove 2 things. One, substantial hardship or depravity. Because substantial hardship, boxer, I'm serious. Number 2, depravity. Now depravity means some weird cravings. Not doing your juma. There's some maybe or say or petriso. Oh yeah, that is depravity. Not what you are not doing your juma. Tresom, depravity. It's a for Baba Kabaka. Yes, I want to know that. That one, if you realize that, 2 years no so you take note. Bema or bo. Bema what you second pay. And now or show us 2 1 2 bad one. Or should back up Brady animal, okay. Now, so yes, it must be presented more than 2 years. But I said in 2 years now, if you can prove to the court that substantial hardship or depravity will have, the court can rule the marriage. The next one, I think that will be the last. Yes, so these are the things you should know. So the main point, they said the marriage has broken down beyond reconciliation. Some couples may come to court. On back court, not court, you almost says home when you ask the woman, say, don't pursue Jawariano. Kimungo for 3 months, it happened like that. Because someone go for 6 months, no one by an Obanian. What I knew was, if you go to then you go. All right. So yes, you must prove that our no good, Yamushi, or Bam Pebble, then they are divorcing. Then you have to prove to the court, say, among 4 permission best settled, but I need ye. You try and fact a need. So these are what you prove. Adultery. Now, adultery, you need to prove number 1. You caught the person in the act. Adultery. Number 2, either say adultery to no be okay, or no be one chain. Number 3, on one case confess it or say my body mind, then I'll be that is confess, that's adultery. Number 2, unreasonable behavior, a baby, on what you are unreasonable behavior. According to Mantle 9, 11, 10, unreasonable behavior. Okasan how with you, unreasonable behavior. Often on pick up unreasonable behavior. When we go in the chair, unreasonable behavior. So unreasonable behavior, the ones you see say, Bemana one was a sack of credit. That's it. The attitude, not as a son. Okasan unreasonable behavior. Say, anything you can think of, any normal. There were some men. 2 months when you were there, Okasan won't feel. I'm not crata. Oh, no, sorry. I'm going to work. No, I try to work. No, but okay, I've cooked your food. It's on the table. That is unreasonable behavior. The third one, desertion. Desertion means okay, you're constructive desertion. And it's a on Mefie, on Meda, on Chef. You go to Mefie, so on Chef Mac, on Chabe, on Yashi with you, what if you, or so on with people, on no one, and everything. Now, desertion, it can be actual or constructive. Constructive in the say, oh, fear or fear, but on Kasa. There were couples, I'm not in for 3 years, among Casada. What's the age? That the catch of among Casada, I want to fear about you have never for 3 years among Casada, I want to fear. Beman in Chabel on church school fees. Just or Koba, or that, but on Casa. And now I in a good one of good mouth. And then there were actual desertion. He said, only if you're crowd, or 12 if you're only if you're or 12 if you're all right. And I said, desertion, I said, oh, now we are money 2 years, and you desertion. If you want oh, 100 routines if you there are some men when they close from work, they can't go to the house because you're tiff you honor. Or some of us say, on me, my fiancé, or point me, ma. That one will be here, the name and the tabontain, you're not a person tabontain. That one is and only a part of the desertion, yes. Now, failure to live as husband and wife for 2 years. Now, this one, so what worry? What's your butchery? Mitigana, 2 years, me who that, the Casabet, me who that. Me person me no jai. I worry about no worry. Okay, because Matthias, I'm going to go. The two of you must agree. Some person will jai worry. Then you present the proceedings to the court. What he has any jai worry. But failure to live together as husband and wife for 5 years. I know people that the husband has been away for 10 years. Oh my God, what's what worry? Oh, worry, 10 years. And no, you don't need the person's consent. You go to court, court will now. Who need independent consent? Court will now. Inability to reconcile differences. The entire ones like, okay, me can't kill. The entire ones say, open brown, paper black. If I black the entire ones say, difference way more intimate resolve it. Now let me say this and close. Divorce is very expensive. Eh? Very expensive. Especially who are under ordinance. The least charge that we charge 30,000 Ghana cedis for divorce. And only yourself is so jacket, no, you can't die once and you can't man once. And divorce, I mean, divorce simplicity, 30,000 Ghana cedis cheap. And if say Japadia can one, a better value Japadia different from the divorce proceedings. Tibia more casting and some more dime, you know. According in our boy, boy, say we 30,000, 100,000. Near Cambo, Abia, a couple when you bear 1 million Ghana cedis. 1 million Ghana cedis, no. You shall open 500,000 Ghana cedis. 500,000, Abia, 100,000 Ghana cedis. So you say, Annie. Near Jedia can't or charge Nankasa home. Say Mawamua and Mawamua. And also charge you different. Mo ya charge you different. More bakwa and on a charge and co. Move me and on a charge and co. Move me and send on a charge and co. Oh, but all in all, what I'm trying to say is that divorce is very expensive. And to worry, making sure that you are doing the right thing. I'm not being pressure. Listen, what the 8 years one and now I'm being tata. Relax. I just have to go check the number so you PR. A carbon bono. Let me say, Obi Jawari. Oh, Accra. Or Befala you massive. Before anybody contact me, I'll tell you the person. Anybody contact me. Or say, transportation. I will leave free massive Accra. Every court appearance, 4,200 Ghana cedis. 4,000. Let me break it down. Flight, 1,800 in and out. Accommodation, 900. Open to be transportation allowance. Or the allowance in here. I know 1,500 or so. A couple of 4,200. I'm say, we're present for Fasiana. Obegua Wadekeko. Obakra Pia, you pay this amount of money. See, Obakra, every court appearance, you pay that. And you know what we do? Let me teach you what we do. Say, me or I can't remember quarter. I make sure say with the kids bear me and say that day. Kids bear 3. But you imagine with the same price. Say me 5 flights, I imagine 4,000. But you be 4,000, 12,000 for nipa 3. 1 day, my year, my pocket tip, Mr. Go back. As on one and banyan one and back, but never be brave. Timmy Slow, but when you know, Angel, whatever you do, nobody fancy, welcome me fancy. Mejo. Some guys are here. What else would be like? Timmy Slow. You're very careful. Marry right. Take your time. Go through the process. Let Empenifo be aware before you enter. Say that I won't regret it very soon. All right, I'll end it here. God bless you. Any question before we? Here's a question.
But when the person wants to divorce and he doesn't have the money, can he or she be sentenced to compensate for that? Be sentenced. It's not possible.
No, we don't sentence. It's a civil matter.
Okay.
We don't sentence under that. Hey, see me there, what I mean, there, what I know what you want to. Hey. We don't sentence under divorce, please. Yes. Any question? Yes. Any question under that? I think that gets a question. Yes.
The 5 to the last but one said that if maybe you are married and then you are apart for 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
They said that
about 5 years.
About 5 years, so it's grounds for
divorce.
Divorce. What about if you are apart, but then the person keeps on sending you money?
You see, it's not about the send of money. It's about not seeing the person. It's about not seeing the person. Sometimes, you know, there is a law that says a person is declared dead after 7 years and the person is not seen after 7 years. Like Castro. Say Castro is well. Yes, the person is not dead. Sometimes the court will make inquiries. Okay, do you hear from him? Yes. Does he send you money? Yes. So why do you want to divorce? But about your mind is here. I mean, that's wrong. So if you want to, if the person agrees, you can go to court and break it down. But if the person doesn't agree, on your say, I mean, so you want to settle, you can just go to court. On your say, but the person doesn't have that willing to come. There are people when they travel, they don't want to step his foot in Ghana. And those of you who like boga, the person will go, and for years, the person is not coming. It happens all over. Okay, so please, yes, after 5 years, you can go to court and tell the court that you want to divorce.
Another question. When you were talking about the grounds for divorce,
yes,
if I had wanted to ask that unreasonable behavior, because I've seen it in 2 cases where the woman cited unreasonable behavior, but you explained. So in this case, have you understood what is meant by unreasonable behavior? Can somebody just use that one alone and argue for divorce? Because it looks subjective and, if you like, whimsical, because like it depends on what you understand by unreasonable behavior. So can somebody just say that, okay, so he doesn't come home early, so unreasonable behavior. Maybe he doesn't take his bath twice. So
okay, so usually in a marital petition, the first one is telling the court the positions of the parties before they got married. So ABI, I, Andrews, Jericho Gyan, a bachelor. I mean, who was a bachelor? Now, yes. So the second point is where they have stayed together. That is point 2. Point 3 is about their jobs. Point 4 is about their children. Point 5 is that the marriage has never gone to court before. Point 6 is you're talking about where the marriage was contracted and all. Point 7 talks about the fact that the marriage has broken down beyond reconciliation. Then come to the point 8, why the marriage has broken down. So if it's unreasonable behavior, it states unreasonable behavior. Then the point 9, before you go to point 9, you write particulars of unreasonable behavior. So what are the particulars of the reasonable behavior? Number 1, he beats me. Number 2, he doesn't come home early. Number 3, I mean, you state what the reasonable behaviors are. So it to be up to the court to decide whether what you're saying is relevant, whether it's really part of the reasonable behavior. Because when Timinka said, or too much, so it's a reasonable behavior. The court needs to know. The court will have to sit down and ascertain the limit of what unreasonable behavior is. Yes, so which means kind of, and even as I said with the divorce, and the unreasonable behaviors, usually there are about 7 that you need to list. You need to list about 7. Which means can't now 2. You should have a number of them to prove to the court that indeed that is unreasonable behavior. With the adultery, I said there are 3 things you need to prove. Number 1, that you caught him in the act. Number 2, say because of that, I mean, number 3, confess. When you state that in, and the court sees that, and you're able to prove to the court, say yes, indeed, the court should divorce. I remember somebody called me and saying, I'm not for Christ member, about last year. that she wanted divorce. I won't mention it, don't look at me. Yes, that she wanted divorce. And the divorce was very flimsy. Very, very flimsy. Very flimsy. Okay, I mean, I don't want to talk about it. So the person said, we don't divorce like that. We don't. Or the man said, school, but that man who school. Say, people divorce for flimsy reasons. So yes, that's that. I thank you so much for your time. Hey, that has another question.
You said the marriage should be at least 2 years.
2 years and above, yes.
Okay, but of late people have, or are they not granted divorce? You know, but people sometimes I hear people who are maybe 1 year into marriage, they say they have divorced. Is it like the court maybe they are using the term loosely, or it's a special case?
That court and
no, it's like they are not up to even 1 year, and then the marriage has broken down, and they are saying that they have divorced, they started divorce proceedings, and so it's are there special cases where people can be granted when they are not yet 2 years, or maybe they are using the term loosely?
Yes. A lot of people say they have divorced, but they have not really divorced. There are 2 instances. Number one, as I said before, also the name San Comano, the person has sent their drinks back, but that is not grounds for any divorce. It doesn't justify divorce. What the name San Comano, and then sign on a marriage, it is the document you signed that signifies the marriage. You have to go through the legal procedure to cancel that one. Number two, as I said, unless the marriage is 2 years, if you come before the 2 years, you need to prove to the court either there is substantial hardship or depravity. Other than that, you have to wait. You have to wait. You have to take your time. In fact, even the court is very slow in granting divorce. That's why divorce both me 3 years. That's what quarter or more. Court in place especially when there are kids involved, children involved, separating them. It's a whole lot of issues. So the court will go slowly just to hope that the two of them will one way or the other find their way back together and then settle their differences. Yes. But they're not unfair, then the court will grant the divorce. But normally the court will not grant divorce unless 2 years are elapsed. In fact, the petition will not be looked at until the court is satisfied. Say, yes, so there are instances where the court will annul the marriage. Annulment, it doesn't need to be 2 years. Annulment, it doesn't need to be 2 years. But then when the marriage is dissolved, the dissolution of the marriage, that is a divorce, and they will say 2 years and over. Yes, so that's that.
Okay.
Reverend.
I want to ask, when during the presentation you mentioned after knocking the process, after knocking, the person will take the list from the family.
Yes.
And the person from there, the person has committed himself to marry the person.
Yes.
What about if the list no nipa na hwe na ontumi, because ebu abusuebu because you printed the order
and you filtered and you edited.
Madam Fubi Kojibi, session 1, session 2, session 3. You see, a pastor friend also did that. Now list na e troye and Sunday I just will call a crebi achese, a honubina sansani biato. And ya petition. The tribe no ewo particular and sambi. And no busiana ne betimi ache we kurana obenya sansani bio. To be frank, a hona wade entity ne nisu say ne kenka. Now you are saying that fine wakoya knocking any this list na man.
Okay.
Afenipa ni we ni hunu hu say ontumi. And it also involves certain things that it goes against the belief as a pastor. Okay. So, and also, committee or committing home with the knocking.
Okay, so once you have done the knocking, there is grounds for the person to sue you for breach of promise to marry. Okay, there is grounds. So if you cannot buy the items, catch and say, "Unya time." Okay, unya time. You can both go patch your ways. So when I say, "Mami, make I say me bet me Yen entias and yanko. Because one tears will be court, but I will be court. Where do be court? Because number one, you have exhausted that way. Wako, you've told the family you want to marry her. Wako officially, acquire no care. That is a ground to sue you for breach of promise to marry, because what make it serious move. All right. So you not being able to procure the item, that is purely traditional matter. And the kono monte also. Kopacho monte also. We say we don't go to see you. But then that one, as I said, you can go to the family, tell them this and that. Ebia and Sanimi Nebi. Timoni Sampamoton. Okay, you should buy that. Your belief as a pastor doesn't it doesn't matter with the tradition. When if you really want to marry the person and the family says this is our tradition, you don't have to get yourself involved directly. You can give them money to do whatever they want to do. But then if that is a tradition that you have to go through, okay, for them to be satisfied, say, what are we at? Let them do it.
Okay. For clarity, mostly you get to know the tradition and things after the knocking.
What is that?
So is it? So you are advising that before you take that step,
exactly,
you have to go behind the scene to find out.
Yes, you should ask. You should ask.
Okay.
A follow up on this question before I ask my own question. So in the case where there is depravity of information, where, for example, he tries to find out assets but it's been hidden from him, and the person is able to prove in a court that he did his best to find out the details but they hid it from him just because they want to take advantage of him, can that also be considered as a way that the person can act unless he's not given the opportunity? I wanted to use a law term, but
that is fraudulent misrepresentation.
Yes, fraudulent misrepresentation. So he can stand on that to say, I can't continue the marriage. Okay. So I want to find out, does court grant separation?
In Ghana.
Okay.
People say they are separating. It is not in Ghanaian law. Separation is not in Ghanaian law. Okay. You can decide to separate on your own, but the court does not grant separation. So
it's not recognized in the constitution of the country. Okay. I just wanted to be sure about that.
Yeah. The court doesn't grant separation.
Okay.
The court grants divorce or annulment. Okay. The parties themselves, if they want to resolve their differences, okay, let's separate a little. That is up to them. But the court itself said, no, the court doesn't do that.
Okay. Last question. On what grounds can extended family, let me say third parties involved, let's say in-laws, on what ground can you stand on the attitude or actions of them to demand for a divorce? Let's say I'm married and my in-law, the way they are invading our privacy and the kind of thing they are doing is having a direct impact on me. And I see that what they are doing is the reason for which the marriage, we are not agreeing. Can that be an enough reason for a divorce to be granted?
No. Before you marry, know the family. Know the family. Number two, you did not marry them, you married the woman. So if she's the one doing that, then you can. But no, what will you tell the court? That the family is not allow you to marry in peace or something. Nah, you can't tell the court that. Okay. So if you have anything to tell the court, it should be on the attitude of the other partner. Hence, you cannot divorce. You cannot divorce. That is.
Okay. Yeah. So when you were giving the presentation, you made a comment like the church, when it comes to marriage,
yes,
the church has either no place or very little influence. Very little. Okay. Now, but you have a whole session on Islamic marriage.
Yes.
Which is accepted and endorsed by the court. Is there anything like Christian marriage? I mean, I know the ordinance marriage somehow fits what the Bible says. But is there anything like Christian marriage? And then also, for instance, right now we've seen that separation is not something that is recognized by law. But in the church, separation can be recommended or advised.
Yes.
Because maybe the couple will need time to maybe heal or something like that. So, so I just wanted you to give us the Christian perspective, because we have the law. For instance, we all know that the law says that if you have sex at the age of 16,
you are okay.
You are okay, but clearly it's not a Christian something. Okay, so as a believer, you cannot say the law has granted that, and so you are free to do that. Because you are under another law, the law of Christ. Okay, another example. Let's say, like the example Reverend gave. Okay, you have gone for the list, and then you've seen that they are saying you should buy schnapps and all that. Now, these days, because our society has been largely Christianized, sometimes they can tell you, okay, then in place of schnapps, bring money. So that one too is not. I don't believe it's by force. That once it's a tradition, if that's what they want, then do it for them. Okay, then if that's what they want and it conflicts with your Christian beliefs, it means you don't have to marry.
Okay, so let me answer that. Now, we don't have, in quote, Christian marriage. We don't have a Christian marriage. But the one that is similar to Christian marriage is a marriage officer's certificate. The one that is the pastor who blesses it. Okay, that one is very, very close to Christian marriage. Because that one, it is done in the church. It is blessed in the church. It is signed in the church, where the parties are given a copy, another copy will be sent to the office of the registrar. Okay, so that one is a bit synonymous with marriage, with the Christian marriage. Number two, everything in the Bible is subject to the laws of Ghana. Everything in the Bible is subject to the laws of Ghana. Example, there is a church that if you don't marry in the church, and if married traditionally, they will not allow you to go for communion. And somebody sued them. They had to go and beg. They had to go and beg. Because the person said they were infringing on his rights. They were discriminating. And it's true they were discriminating because the person needn't have to come to the church to marry before you acknowledge the marriage. If the law is saying I can marry in the house, yes, he has married in the house, you can't do anything about it. And they were saying that he had to come to the church for the papa to bless it and all that. And he said he wouldn't come. And they said that one, then you wouldn't partake in our, what do you call it? Our communion. Meanwhile,
lawyer, you see, the Catholic Church. No. If you don't come to the church for them to bless it, the church does not recognize your marriage. In fact, you cannot even take part in the.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. So, but I believe that the law accepts that.
It is against the law. They are aware. They know. It's against the law. It is against the law. Nobody can force somebody. Once the person is legally married within the confines of the law, you cannot prevent the person from partaking in anything within the church.
So another question. For instance,
you see, we are the church.
yes. So I want things to be clear. For instance, you were talking about. Okay, I think it had got to do with not marrying. It's against the law to marry. When the husband says, "I want threesome," you can cite that as unreasonable behavior.
No, it's unreasonable behavior, but that one is substantial, and that one is depravity.
Okay.
Depravity, yes.
Yeah. So now this society is evolving now, where people are trying to say, because the guy said the church had infringed on his right. Now, if we are to expand that, then it means that one. Now, somebody can also say that, okay, that is what he wants.
Okay, so that will lead us to proper family rights, the bill that will lead us to that bill. Now, Ghana is purely a customary society. Ghana is purely a traditional society. Purely a traditional society. So most of our laws, in fact, one of our source of law is customary law. So everything in the law, when it comes to morality and ethics, it comes from our law, our customary law. That is why there are certain things that outside it is fine, but here it is not fine. If you do it and nobody sees, that is okay. But if somebody sees it, nobody will agree to it. That is why that one we see it as depravity. Why do you need judgment in our ways? That's how we see it. Say obi oba say me actually me two them dance na me okay oyare. At the same time oyare. And then Bema will say I say me another person about that one it is against custom, against common sense, it's against reason. So it might be okay for you. In fact, every person's freedom and right ends. Okay, so that one, every person's freedom and right ends where the law says it should end. You have your own right, but when the law says I'm taking your right, you can't do anything about it.
You know, I just cited that to apply to the church. Okay, so you are saying that every law everything in the Bible is subject to the laws. Of course, Bible says we should submit to governing authority. But I wanted to bring another perspective. You know that okay, so civil authority. The Bible says we should submit to civil authority. But there comes a situation where civil authority clashes with the Bible. And so that one, the believer is supposed to choose the Bible and suffer the consequence of civil authority. But in most cases, civil authority also endorses what the Bible says. For instance, if let's say right now, we don't have laws in Ghana that say that a pastor cannot refuse to bless gay marriage. But in case there's a law like that, which says that as a pastor, you can't refuse, you can't say, I will not bless gay marriage. There's some pastors, if you, and then you must be prepared to disobey that law and suffer the consequence. So in that sense, it's not strictly the case that everything in the Bible must come under the law.
Okay, so I said something that, okay, Article 2:1 says that the Constitution shall be the supreme law of Ghana, and any law found to be inconsistent with the Constitution shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. That's Article 2:1. So that means the Constitution is the supreme law of Ghana. And every law that anybody wants to submit to must find a place under the umbrella of the Constitution. So what do you think is your law? Like if you go to the north, there are people who still do FGM. That is your tradition, but it's not in the law. So if you do it, it's against the law, but it is your tradition. So irrespective of how you revere your laws or your codes of conduct or whatever, it should be subject to what the law is saying. So it is a constitution that regulates all our activities. So every law must find a place in the constitution. So yes, we respect the Bible, but the law is supreme. I mean, the context of civil way, the law is the constitution is supreme than the Bible. But we believe as Christians the Bible is supreme than the constitution. That is our belief.
The last one. Okay, for instance, when you come to the law, maybe there's freedom of certain freedoms
of worship. Yes, another.
Okay, let's say of worship. So how do you determine how I want to worship? Because you have given me freedom to worship.
Okay.
And then you are saying that the Constitution too is about, and you didn't give me terms of reference as far as how I worship is concerned. So if let's say our way of worship is as defined in the Bible, and we want to follow what is in the Bible, it's freedom of worship. So
let me explain. Article 296 talks about a person in authority being fair and candid and all that. That a person in authority, you need to be fair and candid in executing justice and law. So you are not defined exactly what to do, but you are told to be fair and candid. That is 296. Yes, the law might not have expressly stated how to do it, but there are provisions in the Constitution. Okay, where the human rights are, provisions in there that tells you how to conduct yourself in the country. That when you go beyond, your rights and the privileges are seized. Example, everybody has a right to life, but when you commit murder, you can be sentenced to death. Your life can be taken away from you. You have your right to life, but it can be taken away from you. When COVID came, EI, an executive instrument was issued that everybody should sleep. When they're going to wear nose mask, everybody slept. It was against your right of movement. But okay, so that is what the law says about our laws. So every law that we believe in, every law that we abide by in our constituency, whatever, in our society, that law should find a place under the Constitution. It should not be above the Constitution. If they are above the Constitution, to the extent of that, it is void. So that law, it is not in existence. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Prophet Jan. So I think that to be safe, we are all in the church, and then if you submit to a man of God and you are in the church, I believe that just as Daddy has started, Daddy has already been doing it in TMI. There are certain rules. Comments. If you found someone, you've seen someone, do the right thing. Go and see Daddy or go and see your pastor. If you then do it right to be safe and then not go through all these long processes of divorce. So I would hear it to pray. Okay, yes. Announcement from.
Hallelujah. Can we give it unto the prophet of God? We are blessed to have such people in the ministry. And such knowledge, you would have paid a lot of money to have them. And you know, it is always said that ignorance is not an excuse. So now you know, it also gives you one way to live. Now, one thing I know about law is that the laws are meant to protect us. They are not meant to punish us. So having laws in place are meant to protect. The difference between us and the jungle is law. So let's appreciate him one more time. And I know that we are going to have a lot of lawyers in the ministry to add up to him, and then we are going to be very formidable with him over here. Amen. Please, I want to know how many of you are newcomers. This is your first time of coming for our camp meeting. Okay. Can I see by hand? Okay. I can see there are some new faces. Are you're a new face? Yes, it's true. Okay. Agreed. Please, somebody's second eye is here. So please, you can see, come to the desk so that the media will attend you. Mission J127, the executive and the members, right after this meeting, you are meeting at the back there. The reason I asked that question is because I couldn't get the time to take you through the rules and regulations for the camp meeting. But I want to say one thing. Please pay attention. So, one of the rules I'm passing me a team and to all the old members is, we came for camp meeting. We didn't come here to marry in court or have some kind of relationship project. So please, we are not being seized from talking or relating to the opposite sex, but please know your limit. Because if I see any two people standing in an ungodly place at an ungodly hour, I'll come after you. I saw something yesterday. Let's be very decent with ourselves over here. I'm not saying you shouldn't meet the opposite sex or talk, but you are standing. People are watching us. We are Christians. The way you stand with somebody, your position, your sitting, your body contact, and everything. Please. Hello. You can talk. And when we close, 30 minutes after closing, let's go and rest. Unless you are doing something with the technical team. After 30 minutes, if you are not part of the media or any of the people who is working here, and that your services are needed, pacho koda, mesrawa koda, me pacho, me many and them pama kameye, into mesraw. I'm begging you. Okay. There is a found Bible over here. Eric Kwekwahin, your Bible is here. Please, we also have a found money in our possession. If you know you have misplaced your money, please see. Okay, I say elder. See Solo. Now you're an elder. I'm calling you elder Solo. See, yeah, brother Solo, and then identify yourself and then the amount of money that is missing. Amen. Finally, yesterday I pleaded with you. I want to repeat it again. Our brothers and sisters at Yam, help us to take care of them. Don't wait for us to come and when they are doing something wrong, please correct them. The way today I saw a lot of them in boxes and something going to bath. Guys, let them look decent before they go out, okay? So that is all I'll say for now. Evening service is at 7 p.m. Right? What is the time for evening service? Okay, so you're going to have a recap service at 6:30. So 6:30 we'll be sitting. There's going to be some kind of interview and engagement. So let's do our best to be here. Any other meeting, Elder Derek? If you are here, you have not done your registration, please do well to see the registration desk and put on your tags. What is your tag? I have my own. Yes, please put on your tag. What do you wear? Pacho Shema Mewai. Besera.
Hallelujah. Please, we've had a few people come say, "Bia ne tag no, or ye say obeje foforo." Please, if you come that obeje different tagger, you have to pay for the ose unhuno. That's what is going to happen. At least.